Hey guys, we have finally almost finished landscaping the tiny house, so I wanted to share with you the steps that we did. It can definitely feel overwhelming when you start a project like this. I even got a little overwhelmed because I'm not a landscape designer, but I did wing it, and we're almost finished. Today we are finishing. So I'll tell you really quickly the steps that we took. First, we obviously had to grade the land, get it more smooth and level. Then I drew out what I wanted it to look like in terms of pathways and flow for traffic and coming in. And so basically drew this path. Had some incredible gentlemen come in and pour concrete pavers. Now my take on this was the concrete pavers were more affordable. I had a better way of customizing exactly what size I wanted to be because we were able to pour the concrete into board forms. Way better than going with the limestone paver route. For us, it was more affordable, and I was able to get a very wide paver, which is what I wanted, to create more of a modern look. Now, obviously, we went with a Xeroscape landscape style, so that's what I'm going to be talking about today is Xeroscape landscaping. After we got the concrete pavers poured, we went in and added metal liner. It was about 6 inches tall. It's what I needed in order to get enough like soil and rock to get to grade. So 6-inch liner, Brandon Dorick, if you're in Austin, Dorick Design created that for us. So metal liners went in, and then it was all about picking the plants, and that's where I'll go next. So we went, if you're local to Austin, we went to Austin Plant Supply and Vivero Growers. I would say Austin Plant Supply had really good options for like bigger pieces, whereas Vivero Growers has more unique, smaller scale. They have everything, but I would say Vivero Growers has a really good supply of succulents, which is what I wanted. So I took the space that we had and created little pockets for plant beds. Now remember, we're doing Xeroscape, so there's no sod, it's only rock. We ended up doing a road base first. Wherever there are plants, we did soil. And then the road base is going to help with washing, and so that the road base will like thicken up, right? So it's going to help with erosion because our land does go downhill, as you can see. That down there will be phase 2, so when you enter the tiny home, that's where you're going to be coming from. But the road base is going to help keep it compact. So we had road base, soil, and this is the rock. Now, let's talk about what rock I landed on. Lots of choices out there. Definitely felt a little overwhelming. I thought I was going to go with like a rainbow gravel, but it turns out rainbow gravel was more like $120 a yard versus this is a washed granite gravel that was around $39 a yard, much more affordable. Also, I wanted a monochromatic look in the rock, and I wanted sort of a desert tone. The style that I'm going for here is like Joshua Tree meets Austin Hill Country. And so this felt like what I would see in the vernacular of our landscape. I didn't want it to feel like out of left field. And it has kind of a pinkish, like very monochromatic tone. The size that I went with is 1/2 inch to 1/4 inch or 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch. The smaller the rock, the easier it is to walk on. So that's something to keep in mind. The larger the rock, the better the better it's going to drain in terms of like good drainage. Now, everything that I picked plant supply wise is drought tolerant, and I tried to do like deer resistant. So let's talk about what I went with. Kind of started with some of my bigger spaces, this one being a very important focal point. I wanted the deck to feel like it was floating, and so I wanted to pick something wispy, so I went with about 15 maiden grass. Maiden grass is really pretty hardy for Texas, hard to kill. We do not have irrigation out here, so whatever we water with is going to be hand watering, and so we don't want to do that very often. So maiden grass across the front kept it very simple, wispy, light, and airy. Then I took my 3 corner points and found some more dramatic, larger pieces. This is where most of our money went in terms of landscaping. So let's just start with this guy. This is a Yucca Rostrata. And I bought it, it actually came in a 30-gallon. So when you go to a landscape supplier, you're gonna be buying plants based on the size most of the time, starting with 1 gallon, 3 gallon, 5 gallon, 7 gallon, 15 gallon to 30 gallon. 30 gallon is gonna be the most expensive. They're the larger, more mature plants. This was our largest plant, even though technically it doesn't look as large. This took a long time to grow. It's a Yucca Rostrata. It is a little spiky, so I chose that sparingly because we obviously have kids and we want dogs to feel welcome here too. So from there, I took some ground cover. This is Mexican Sedum. We did some red ice plants. Ice plants are also drought tolerant and they bloom, so that's like a nice little pop of color. This is a type of Echeveria. There's a lot of different Echeverias. Sunny Jean. This is like a little Mexican feathergrass, 1 gallon. So these were really cheap, probably $4 to $6 for this guy. This is an Aloe Vera. Aloe Vera is extremely hard to kill. Also, as you know, Sunny just picked our flowers. Sunny, what do you think? Do you like it? You need to get in the shade. Aloe veras are hard to kill. They're obviously very good for skin if you get sunburned. So very useful plant. Let's go to this last guy. That's a different version of an Echeveria. Now, when we planted him, he's a little droopy, but he'll come back to life once his roots grow down. Now, I learned a funny trick. I feel like I always learn something new about succulents. If you're a succulent lover, here's a new tip for you that I just learned yesterday at the nursery. When you water a succulent, which you don't want to water them very often, when you water them maybe every other week, you want to water around the perimeter of the succulent so that the soil is getting the water. You do not want to water on top of the succulent. So like, don't water right on top. And a lot of plants are like that because it can create root rot. But for a succulent, this is the tip and something I didn't know. When the water droplets go onto the top of the plant and they say this leaf like holds the water, which a lot of Echeverias will do, that water is now like a magnifying glass for the sun, and it'll literally burn the leaves of your plant. So, tip and trick, it's better to water succulents very early in the morning so that they're ready for the day and they're ready for the sun, but that way it's not like magnified in the middle of the day. You can also water it late in the evening, but I think the best approach that our landscaper has taught us is to water very early in the morning. So always water your succulent around the edge. Now let's go to the next the next species that I got. This is a purple feathergrass. This is where it starts dropping off, so I just kind of wanted to create a wall here. We will have a table for people to enjoy company. This is lavender. Lavender is also pretty hardy. This is a blue glow agave. Blue glow agaves are pretty expensive, so this was kind of a treat. It was like $195, which for us is a splurge. I also got, this is a bulbino, I think is what it's called. This will have like yellow flowers. These are very drought tolerant and they also can grow in poor soil, which we do have. The soil out in the hill country is extremely compact. It's like limestone. You have to, we had to rent a jackhammer just to get some of these plants into the ground. This is a skull cap. And for ground cover, I also chose silver ponyfoot. So this will just go. You guys have probably seen this, now that you know some species, you can pay attention, but silver ponyfoot will just go. And then we took some boulders and kind of added some texture there. The last couple of things I'll show you is our second biggest plant that I got is a Spanish Dagger. This thing is my favorite decision. It's right at the entry. It was a 15 gallon, even though it's really big. It is spiky, have to be careful, but I love the drama that it adds to the entrance. That's something you want to think about when you're landscaping, is like, where do you want those moments for your eyes to go? So I'll end on our last place that I wanted to make a focal area, and that is, of course, around the cowboy pool. Like, the cowboy pool felt like it needed some friends. And so we've got a soft leaf yucca. I went soft leaf around the cowboy pool because obviously more people will be like hanging out over here, dogs, kids, adults. So I just wanted to make sure that we didn't have anything too spiky near the cowboy pool. We've got more ice plants, Mexican Sedum, Mexican feathergrass, added some Echeveria for different texture. And, one of my favorite things that I got is this golden barrel cactus. Now these can get like pretty big. it'll probably take a couple years for it to do that, or several years, but that was also a fun splurge that's just kind of a artistic moment, and a pop of yellow, which I love. And then the last thing that I splurged on was this Peruvian cactus, y'all. How pretty is she? She's gorgeous. She's so pretty that I want to just put her in a pot and have this like as a backdrop against the house up on the deck. So that's pretty much it, you guys. The landscaping was very fun. It's been great. You know, I'll end on saying the last steps were obviously, if you're doing your own landscape project and you don't exactly know the order of events, because I wasn't sure either until we hired a professional, it is to plant the plants first in the soil. Bring in good soil if you have bad soil. So plant the plants, then put the weed barrier over. Now, if you have to build up with road base, you obviously do that too, but you plant the plants first, then you do the weed barrier. So you cut openings in the weed barrier and basically put it over as a blanket. Now, before you do any of that, you should definitely have weeded your area to make sure you don't have any old weeds that are going to want to pop back through. You have to weed the area, otherwise you're setting yourself up for just really annoying weeds that are going to come back. So, adding the weed barrier as a blanket over the plants, then putting all of your rock and or road base on top of that, and then voila, you have a landscaped xeroscape style. You guys, I hope this was helpful. We've had a lot of fun. I want to share one little personal thing with you guys. I feel like I'm doing that on most of these videos. We are a very close family, and I do like to share personal stories. About a week ago, our 4-year-old lab named River passed away. It's been a very hard week for us. He was very young, and about 4 weeks ago, he was diagnosed with dilated cardiomyopathy, which is an enlarged heart for a dog. Now, he was probably born with this disease. We did not know about it. He was bit by a snake on our property, but that was a non-venomous snake. So all the doctors said that had nothing to do with it. So it's been a very hard week. We miss our dog. He was part of our family. We thought he was going to grow old with our children, and he's gone. One thing I've learned that I just feel like obligated to share with any dog lovers out there, we have learned that the boutique grain-free dog foods are not good for dogs with heart conditions. If you have any idea or thought that your dog might have a heart condition or is susceptible to have them because of their breed, do not feed them grain-free animal food. We thought we were doing like the fancy stuff, and it turns out that grain-free food is taurine deficient, and taurine is something that dogs need for their hearts to function well. And so I don't know that his outcome would have been any different, but I just had to share that with you. Grain-free food is not the best thing to give your dog. On that note, when I was at the landscape nursery, I saw a tree that was called the Bubba Desert Willow. Can I show you? We always called River Bubba. And so as a way to honor him, we are going to plant a tree in his honor. When I went to the nursery, there was literally a dog ball at the bottom of this, and it just felt like a sign, like he had picked his own tree. So I share that with you guys because, like, YouTube is a family. You guys know our family, and thank you for supporting us. Thank you for following our journey. I hope that you've learned something here today. I'll list out all the species that I picked. Hopefully it's helpful for your own projects if you're doing drought-tolerant xeroscape projects. Until next time, you guys, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Thank you so much for being here, and we'll see you next time.